Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Grant Henry. It's another episode of Inside the District. Now, you've heard me go through this introduction to spiel several times. What we're trying to do here is give some voters some insight into what this newly created congressional 5th District is. And you'll actually see on your screen right now, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, wherever you're watching this, you'll actually see a map of the new 5th District. So you can see for yourself how I've been describing in previous episodes what the new district is. And what we want to do here is give some insight, some clarity into the representatives in that district, the stories that are told in those districts, and really what's happening in each area of the U.S. Congressional 5th. And we start by doing so through the elected representatives themselves. And then shortly after that, we'll bring in community leaders from organizations that you've heard of, both at the state legislature and out in your communities as well. And with that being said, today we're joined by Senator Joey Hensley, actually my senator. And thank you so much for joining us today, sir. And if you could, go ahead and introduce yourself to those that may not know you in our audience, where you serve, what your district is, and maybe even why you ran for office originally.
Well, thank you, Grant. First of all, thank you for having me on today. And I'm Joey Hensley. I represent the 28th Senatorial District, which in the new district, of course, is changing this year with the redistricting. But my old district had Murray County, Lewis, Perry, Wayne, Lawrence, and Giles County, those 6 southern Middle Tennessee counties. But with the new district, it will include Lewis, Murray, Marshall, and part of Williamson County. So I basically picked up Marshall County. And so I will have Lewis, Murray, and Marshall, which is in the new 5th Congressional District, as well as Spring Hill and Williamson County. I already had all of Murray County, which of course included Spring Hill and Murray County, but the new district starting in November will include Spring Hill and Williamson County, and Senator Jack Johnson will remain the senator for the remainder of Williamson County. And I also picked up Marshall County. So the new district will be Giles, Marshall, Murray, Lewis, and Spring Hill and Williamson County. And while I ran for office, I've been in the legislature for several years. I served in the House for 10 years before I moved over to the Senate. And I first ran for office right after the income tax debate. And I ran because there were no other Republicans running in my district. And there were 2 Democrats running, and I didn't want either one of them representing me. I didn't think the majority of people in my district did, even though I was the first Republican represented in that House district. This was in 2002. So I decided to run. I actually had to do a write-in vote to get my name on the ballot. But we were fortunate to win that election, and I've been honored to represent the people in that House district for 10 years, and now I've been in the Senate for 10 years. And so it's an honor to represent people in this district for those years. And of course, I'm in the middle of a term. I'm not running for re-election this time because half of the Senate runs every 2 years. So the even numbered district did not have to run this year. They'll be up again in 2 more years. So for people that didn't see my name on the ballot, that's why, because I'm in the middle of a 4-year term this year.
Senator, the biggest issue for voters going into the midterms at the federal level is by far the economy and the inflation rate. I'm looking at some of these figures here that Republicans have put out over the last couple of weeks and showing that total government spending has increased by over $9 trillion since February of 2021. That's with a T, $9 trillion. That's near impossible to accurately illustrate how large of a figure that is. Some of the other stats I'm showing, that's 80% of all U.S. dollars in existence had been printed in just the last 2 years. This means that in June, inflation had increased nearly 550% under the Biden administration. Year over year, food prices are edging up by 13.5%, and electricity prices are up 20% under this administration. So the question here is, Senator, in your district, how is this inflation in the economy affecting your constituents? Are they feeling that sting yet? I guess the better question is, what is the most important issue? What's the biggest concern for the people in your district right now?
Certainly, they're feeling the pinch of the inflation when they go to the grocery store, when they go to put gas in their car, when they go buy anything, fuel costs. electricity costs are up, so they certainly feel the pinch, and that's one of the big concerns. And I serve on the finance committee in the Senate. I'm one of the vice chairmen of the finance committee. I'm on chair of the revenue subcommittee that looks at all the tax bills that come to the Senate. So that's one of the things I look at during the General Assembly is financial issues, and we're fortunate in Tennessee. We're looking at almost a $4 billion surplus this year in Tennessee, which means Tennessee has over collected about $4 billion. Last year, our budget was about $52 billion. So, compared to the trillions of dollars that the federal government spends, but we balance our budget. We spend what we need to. Last year, we had about a $3 billion surplus because Tennessee is a business-friendly state. We have the lowest tax per capita in the country. We don't have a state income tax. We've cut many taxes over the years: the income tax, the hall income tax, the inheritance tax. So we've cut the tax on food. So we cut taxes, and this year we had some more tax breaks for people buying their tags. We had a whole month took the tax off of food. We took the tax off of agricultural products. So even with the tax cuts we've seen, we still have a budget surplus in Tennessee. But what's happening at the federal level is just unbelievable to me, that they spend money without having the money to pay for the bills. And here in Tennessee, every bill we pass has to be funded in the budget. If a bill gets passed and it's not funded, then it's not, the bill just doesn't apply to anybody if it's not funded in the budget. And at the national level, they pass bills without funding them, and so build up this a problem we have at the federal level with our debt.
Yeah, the spending trends at the federal level seem just asinine on their face. And this administration in particular has seemingly done a few things that just further exacerbate the problem, whether it's something to do with the supply chain situation we have going on, or even the fact that, gas prices shot up more than 60% under the current administration. And the Biden administration seems like since day one, they've discouraged oil and gas production from the very first day that they took, power. But when you look into the previous administrations, both President Trump and Obama each approved 10 times the amount of leases during that exact same time period of their presidency. 10 times the amount of oil and gas leases. So there's things that could be done to alleviate the problem. Now, let's focus, though, on some issues going ahead, what the future looks like, and even at the state level itself. At the state level in the Tennessee General Assembly, in your opinion, Senator, what do you think is going to be the biggest issue of concern, or some of the biggest concerns that will be addressed going forward next year?
Well, certainly funding is going to be one of the major things, and we're going to see how we can best spend the money and try to give most of the money back to the taxpayers like we did this past year. Spend one-time money so we're not obligated on recurring amount of money, and that's one way that we balance the budget. A lot of this budget surplus is one-time money, so I expect us to spend some money on capital projects like we did last year, a lot of capital projects at higher education institutions and at state buildings, and maintenance so that we hadn't done for years. We had this one-time money, spend it one time rather than tying it up in recurring money, even though we did add $1 billion to our K through 12 education. That's recurring money, recurring $1 billion. I look at some of the things coming up and some of the things in the news is some of the transgender issues we see at Vanderbilt, some of the problems with our foster care system and not having enough caseworkers in foster care. And then just looking at funding in general and how we continue to keep our state business friendly. Because one of the reasons we have a budget surplus is because businesses continue to come to Tennessee because they want to come here. It's a low tax state. We have a good workforce. We're trying to educate our workforce, and that'll be one of the big issues. And I also serve on the education committee. So education is very important. We just put in a new funding formula for education, so we may have to come back and tweak that. But we pass a lot of education legislation, trying to make our educational system better, because we're seeing only about a third of our third grade students are proficient in reading. So we're trying to put things in place to improve that. So looking at all those issues and issues that come up during the year, I represent Murray County, and I know you've already talked to Representative Sapicki, and he and I and another representative in Murray County, we are looking at a impact fee in Murray County because of the rapid growth. Murray County is the fastest growing county in the state, one of the fastest growing in the country, and they're looking at building new schools, 3 to 4 new schools over the next few years, and they're looking at ways to fund those schools because of the rapid growth. So we're looking at ways that we can help Murray County specifically, but several counties in Middle Tennessee are seeing the rapid growth. Marshall County is seeing rapid growth. Spring Hill and Murray and Williamson County are seeing just rapid growth, and we're going to have to be able to help with the infrastructure to build the schools that the rapid growth is going to require. So those are all issues that we're going to be looking at next session.
Just very quickly before we go into this final question here, Senator, I know that Matt Walsh and the Daily Wire crew, they have some rally at the Capitol coming up on October 21st at 4 p.m., specifically to draw attention to something you mentioned there very quickly, that issue going on at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Do you have any take on what the legislature may do to try and address that next year?
Well, actually, I had the privilege to sponsor legislation in the past, Representative Sapicki and I, that prevents a biological male from playing on a female sports team in K through 12 and now in higher education. So the same basic issue, letting a biological male compete against women, is just not fair. And what's going on at Vanderbilt with pediatric patients is where the concern is. It's not with adults. Once someone is an adult, this is America, they can certainly do whatever that they choose. But we feel like we should protect children until they're 18, and they can really make an informed decision about if they think they're transgender or they want to do things to go down that avenue. They can certainly do that, but doing that to 13, 14, 15-year-olds performing surgery is just not something that I think personally should be happening at Vanderbilt. And I think we will come back next session and pass legislation to prevent that. Unless some of the Vanderbilt, there is talks with Vanderbilt now for them to put a stop to that surgery and treatment of children until they're 18 and they can make a decision on their own. So I look for us to have legislation that will prohibit that for children.
And Senator, one question final question here on the way out is, when Andy wins this seat in, the 5th congressional district, there will be a lot of overlap, a sort of shared constituent base, right? And I guess the question then becomes, how would you like to see the communication between that federal congressional seat and yours at the state level happen? Would you like to see more communication? Would you like to see the federal government just stay out entirely? How would you like to see that happen going forward?
Well, certainly I'm all for Andy to win, and he and I go back many years, even before he was mayor of Murray County. He and I had a good relationship, and I feel like personally I have a good relationship with him, and certainly appreciate what he's done as mayor of Murray County. And I think he is going to win that seat, and we really need another Republican seat. Right now, Mark Green represents a lot of my counties, and he has been very active in being in the county and being in the district. And I think that's very important for any congressman, and I think Andy will do that as well. He's certainly well known in Murray County and Lewis County and Marshall County and the other counties he's going to represent. But I think having a partnership between local government and state government and the federal government is very important, because we deal with many of the same issues. I have people call my office on issues that are really federal issues. We try to help all we can at the state level and then refer them on to the congressman. Like I said, Mark Green has had most of this district before. Scott Desjardins has part of it. They've been very receptive. But I think town hall meetings that include all of us, the state officials, the federal officials, and local officials, because all of us represent the same people. All of us want the same thing for the people that we represent, and that is for them to have a good government, that for them to have a good place to live and work, raise their children. We're all concerned about the same issues, and I think town halls are very important, and just being accessible, visiting the different areas in the district are important, I think. And me as a state legislator, I've tried to do that all the time I've been in office. I think it's important for any elected official to be available to his constituents at all times, and I think Andy will do that. But just meetings that include all of us would be very helpful, so that people know how to contact him and know how to get a hold of him and know how to get a hold of me, the other representatives, and even local officials as well.
Senator Hensley, we will end that for today. Again, thank you so much for some of your time today, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to do it. Thank you.
For myself, Andy Ogles, and Senator Hensley on the other line here, signing off for today. Until the next episode, see y'all soon.